All right, so I'll ask you, despite what you just said and what I said, where do the Indians finish this year?
Yeah, I will pick them to win the division by 10 games.
Well,
first of all, I'm not the one that's incensed by what Paul Dolan said. I just think that he shouldn't say. I mean, this is to me why fans are upset, because he's cutting costs. He's gotten swept. His team has gotten swept out of the last playoff series.
Right.
They blew a lead in the previous playoff series. They blew a lead in the World Series.
Correct.
And people are looking and saying, why pull back now?
Okay,
you know,
if you're him, you're sitting in his office and they bring you stuff like paper telling you all the analytical projections and everything else, and they tell them what you just said, that they're going to win the division by 10 games, as with David Miller or whoever he is at second base, and Max Moroff, and the rest of the All-Star squad.
I think it's Brad Miller.
Brad Miller.
Yeah.
Well, all right.
David Miller's brother. Brad.
Well, even so. I mean,
to start, we know it's going to be Kipnis and Lindor and Ramirez.
Yes, and we know that
Santana.
by the All-Star game or by the trading deadline. Well, here you have it right now. You got infielders and catchers. You got Lindor and Kipnis and Hanley Ramirez and Brad Miller, Roberto Perez. We had in our projected starting lineup Roberto Perez batting 7th. Now, how good can that team be? Jose Ramirez, Carlos Santana, Eric Stamets at shortstop, Moroff at second, and Plawecki is your catcher. So let me ask you this: as you see the rest of the team, that includes Greg Allen, the switch-hitting center fielder, Leonis Martin, Jordan Luplow, Carlos Gonzalez, Jake Bowers, Tyler Naquin, and Bradley Zimmer. Here's our projected opening day lineup. And I got to tell you this: if Santana, well, I think Santana will have a good year, but if Carlos Gonzalez and Hanley Ramirez, if they have the year they're hoping for, all of a sudden that lineup, when you get Lindor back and Kipnis back, it's not as bad as it looked a week ago.
Well, what leads you to believe that you're going to get that out of Ramirez and Gonzalez? That's the thing. Nothing they did over last season.
There's nothing they did over the last season or two that would make you believe that.
Yeah. So, yeah, listen, I suspect they'll win the division. I mean, I think the idea is to win a World Series here while you still have Frankie Lindor and Jose Ramirez together. And have you helped yourself do that? Have you positioned yourself to win a World Series based on what you've done in the offseason? And I would say the answer would have to be no. It doesn't mean they can't do it. We saw how far they went in 2016 with all the injuries they had.
Right.
But you're asking for pretty special circumstances again for this team to make it to a World Series.
Is pitching still the name of the game or not?
It was in 2016 and 17 and 18.
Well, you had injuries. You had a bad back by Kluber. You had a drone injury. The dreaded drone injury by Bowers. But
I mean, I think one of the biggest, you could say this. I think one of the biggest issues has been Jose Ramirez in the postseason.
Yes.
Last year, at least.
Sure. And the last month of the season.
So if you get great pitching and great performances from your two stars,
then you're right there.
Maybe you're right there. Maybe you are.
Do we agree we can't compete with the Yankees dollar-wise and the Red Sox dollar-wise?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. But now based on what you've done, I think nothing is impossible, but you've now hurt your chances to compete with them in the playoffs.
By what you lost and what you have not picked up.
Yes. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely, I would agree. But there's the other side of the little angel on my shoulder that says you've been handed the analytical report that you're going to win by 10 games. You're going to win by 10 games and you're going to save yourself outlay of, I don't know, $50 million.
Yeah, but you were favored to win the division last year. Would you agree?
Yes.
You didn't move Encarnacion then. You didn't.
No.
You signed Alonso then. You signed Donaldson then. And now you're looking and saying, well, we're still favored and we're not signing anybody.
Okay, so let's forget this year for a minute. You just said Donaldson and a couple of other, and the year
Brad Hand.
And in 16 you had Miller and you had a couple of other additions. They certainly weren't cheap then. They certainly went for the gusto at that point. And just because you don't get it doesn't mean you didn't try.
I guess fans are skeptical that, given what we've seen in the offseason with salary cutting, that they will make those same moves at the trade deadline if they're available.
I believe they will.
Okay.
Here's
well, you know what
you're
going to be called? You're going to be called an Indians apologist by the first phone call or email or tweet that we get.
Go ask the PR department if they think I'm an apologist for the Indians. But what I will tell you is this, that what I have found out about the Dolans is, we say the Dolans and we mean Paul Dolan. What I found out about Paul Dolan, when he says we will spend when the time is right, he believes the time is right is not now, it's when you're ahead and then you, to quote Austin Carr, you throw the hammer down. He doesn't believe that, uh-oh, we're 4 games out, we better throw the hammer down. It's when you're 4 games ahead. Do you agree with that?
You're counting on them being comfortably ahead by the All-Star, by the trade deadline.
I would like him not only to be comfortably ahead in the division, which we all agree is not good, although Minnesota looks like they are much better.
Minnesota has a better lineup than these guys.
No question about it.
Agree on that?
Yes, but I don't know that I'd want any of their pitchers in our starting rotation. I believe that not only should they try to win the division, but try to win it big enough that they have the home field advantage in the postseason. And people who want to tell me it doesn't matter, they're wrong. They don't know anything about the game.
Well, if you espouse doing that, then you're winning it big enough to get home field advantage just became more difficult by what you didn't do this offseason.
That's correct. Or you better do it when you get closer.
By what you didn't keep together, I should say.
That's correct. But you have the opportunity to add to that when you get into June and July.